Every now and then, a case comes along in Judge Judy's courtroom that seems super straightforward. This one is about a $500 loan. But as we're about to see, it quickly spirals into this incredible masterclass on something way more important: character, accountability, and what it really costs when you break a promise.
And it all starts right here. Not with the loan, not with the evidence, but with just 2 words from Judge Judy. Before the defendant, a guy named Marcus, can even open his mouth, she hits him with this. The entire tone for the case is set right from the get-go. This is a confrontation from second one.
So just how late was he? A full 45 minutes. I mean, for a regular appointment, that's pretty bad, right? But for a court appearance, wow, that's a bold move. And of course, his excuse is the oldest one in the book, one we've all heard, maybe even used ourselves. I was stuck in traffic.
Oh, Judge Judy is not buying that for a second. Her response is just instant and absolutely cutting. And with this one single line, she completely reframes the whole situation. This isn't just a simple mistake anymore. No, this is a huge sign of disrespect for her, for the court, for the person suing him, for the whole shebang.
Okay, so with that cloud of disrespect already hanging in the air, let's get to the actual heart of the matter. The financial dispute. We're about to dive into why they're even in court, a simple disagreement over $500 that has 2 former friends telling 2 very different stories.
And really, the whole conflict boils down to this. It's so simple. The plaintiff, Breanna, says, "I gave you a loan." The defendant, Marcus, says, "Nope, it was a gift." So now, the entire case is going to hinge on one single question: who can prove their side of the story?
So Breanna lays out her side of things. And listen, the details here are absolutely crucial. She lent him the $500 so he could fix his car and get to work. And this wasn't just some spare cash she had lying around. No, this came straight out of her savings, money she had earmarked for her kids' school supplies. It was a genuine sacrifice, and she only did it because he promised he'd have it back to her in 1 month.
All right, now for Marcus's defense, which is, well, it's a totally different story. He's adamant it was a gift. He even tries to argue that Breanna is just twisting his text messages because their friendship went south. And then he throws in this little tidbit at the end, that he lost his job, which kind of feels like he's implying he couldn't have paid her back anyway.
Okay, so we've got 2 completely conflicting stories, right? A classic he said, she said. But, in Judge Judy's courtroom, stories and excuses, they only get you so far. Now we get to the part that really matters, the cold, hard, undeniable evidence that Breanna brought with her.
And this is it. This is the exact moment the entire case just flips on its head. What you're looking at is the literal text message Marcus sent her. It's the smoking gun. I mean, he doesn't just say thanks for the money or appreciate the help. He uses the specific, undeniable word loan.
Yeah, once you see that text, there's not a lot of wiggle room, is there? Judge Judy's take on it is immediate and frankly blunt. For her, the evidence isn't just compelling, it's clear as day. As far as she's concerned, the argument is pretty much over.
So let's just recap here. Breanna's case is completely airtight. She has the text messages where he literally calls it a loan and promises to pay it back. And on top of that, she has the bank statement to prove the $500 transfer actually happened. She came prepared. She left absolutely nothing to chance.
And this really gets to the heart of the betrayal, doesn't it? Judge Judy just cuts through all the excuses with this one powerful statement. For her, this was never just about the money. It's about a fundamental violation of trust between people who were supposed to be friends.
So this brings up a really important question. I mean, the evidence is a slam dunk, right? The verdict seems pretty obvious. So why are we even still digging into this? Well, because as Judge Judy is about to show us, the $500 is just the surface level problem. The real issue here is so much deeper.
And this is exactly where the case transforms into a masterclass on accountability. It stops being about paying back a loan and starts being about owning up to your words, taking responsibility for your actions, and, maybe most importantly, respecting other people's time and their trust.
Let's break this down for a second, because you start to see a real pattern. For every single irresponsible action, Marcus has a ready-made excuse. He didn't pay back the loan. Oh, it was a gift, when the reality is a written promise. He was late to court, stuck in traffic, when the reality is it's just plain disrespectful. It's the same behavior, just in different situations.
And this is classic Judge Judy right here. This is her entire philosophy in a nutshell. You see, Marcus tries to bring up their friendship falling apart, or that he lost his job, but she just cuts him right off. She doesn't care about emotional appeals or sob stories. Her courtroom is about one thing and one thing only:
Facts, action, and consequence. And there it is, her final devastating verdict on his character. Notice how she directly links the two big issues in this case. Being late to court wasn't some separate minor thing. To her, it's all part of the exact same pattern of behavior as not paying back the loan. It all points to one thing, a total lack of responsibility.
So, after she's completely dismantled all the excuses and laid out the facts, there's only one thing left to do. It's time for the final judgment, and that includes both the official verdict and the lessons we can all take away from this.
No surprise here, right? The judgment is for the plaintiff, Breanna, for the full $500. She gets her money back, and in that sense, justice is served. But like we've been saying, the real takeaway here isn't about the cash. So when you really boil it down, this whole case gives us a pretty clear roadmap for what accountability looks like. It's simple, really. First, acknowledge the agreements you make. Second, talk to people honestly, without a bunch of excuses. Third, respect other people's time and their resources. And finally, just own your actions, whether they're good or bad. And this quote just ties a perfect bow on everything we've just seen. It doesn't matter if it's a promise to pay back money or just an appointment you need to be on time for. Being reliable in the small stuff, that says everything about your character when it comes to the big stuff.
And that really leaves us with one last thing to think about in our own lives, right? Look, we all make excuses sometimes. That's just human. But a case like this really forces you to ask, where is that line? At what point does a simple excuse like, I was stuck in traffic, stop being just an explanation and start being an insult to the person on the other end? Something to think about.